It is Wednesday, October 29th, 2025. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields. Afternoon update for you, trying to keep things, keep you posted around the clock right here. This is Melissa. High impacts right now, parts of the Bahamas. I want to zoom down island by island in this video with some new maps and new information to show you. Now, with that said, we're also watching the heavy impacts coming out of Cuba. Thank you for the reports in the comments section. The heaviest weather trying to leave Santiago de Cuba, watching over toward Guantanamo Bay. Still some heavy rain, especially on the north side. Very heavy rain. So I want to get into the additional rain totals. The center, though, for Cuba, now just to the north, sitting right about here. So thank you again for the comments that you could put as we're getting some information out of Cuba. Same thing in Jamaica. I, like you, are waiting. I'm constantly checking my phone. My wife keeps texting me, trying to hear from our friends in Jamaica. So the more information you can pass along in the comments section, thank you for that. Of course, I know all of us are kind of, a lot of us are going through that scenario as expected with how strong this was. Haiti, I want to swing down to some of the rain. I was just talking to my friend. He's part of our team, Jean Bonnet. He's out of Jacmel. He's been going to different parishes. He said today is one of the worst days as far as the rain goes, and sometimes this happens. And we talked about this, I think, 3 days ago when this would kind of lift to the north. Those feeder bands, if you get stuck in those, just really heavy rain, you see it right there. Watching Jacmel, Boston Blue, swinging toward the west across the peninsula of Haiti. So keeping a very close eye on that. Then I want to take a look in this video. There's so much to cover. I don't want to leave anyone out. Bermuda and Canada as we work our way down the road. But you can see here a closer look. Heavier weather starting to work in over toward the Acklands, Crooked Island, right through here. This is where we're going to see some of the heaviest weather. Center sitting right about here. Great Anagua sitting here, getting clipped by this system. Higher impacts as well. Very close to Long Island, especially the south side. Heavier rain pushing into Rum Key over towards San Salvador. Great Exuma, Little Exuma watching as well. Cat Island will be on kind of the edge of some strong tropical storm conditions or even borderline hurricane conditions, just how this kind of pivots up. So I want to zoom down further with this, with again the wind in the rain out of that. Then we look at the tail end of it. So this has just curled off the center right there, just curling off the coast of Cuba, moving right through the Bahamas. It is now accelerating, but you can see what I was talking about. Southeastern Cuba, intense rain is going to continue. Yes, still some of the winds, but the rain very, very intense, and we're seeing that as well. Parts of the southern peninsula of Haiti, additional rainfall, other parts of Haiti, and of course the DR and the Turks and Caicos. But the Turks and Caicos, heaviest weather, while we'll get some bands of tropical storm rain and winds, heaviest weather will be staying off toward the north and the west as expected as that continues to hold. And of course, all of this has moved away from Jamaica. Here's the path, the very latest on this. Winds at 100 miles per hour. So it is still a Category 2 hurricane. Those are winds of about 150 to 155 kilometers an hour. It's moving to the north-northeast at 22 kilometers an hour, so about 14 to 15 miles per hour. It is going to continue to accelerate, so it will be getting in and then trying to get out of the Bahamas. But I wanted to do this update because it is going to be a long afternoon and evening with high winds and high rain, and even the seas will cover that. The pressure continues to rise, a sign it is not as strong as, of course, what we had yesterday in Jamaica, 974 millibars right now. Now, with that said, again, as this moves out of Cuba into the Bahamas, it is not the same system, no doubt, that we had in Jamaica as we keep that in perspective, but it's a hurricane with winds of 100 miles per hour. Even if the winds drop a little bit, we're still talking about 80, 90 mile per hour winds, gust to about 100. That's serious, as we know, as that moves by. So I don't want any injuries out of this. So let this get through, of course, as we work our way through the Bahamas, and then we'll go from there. So here's that zoom down look for you. So to give you perspective, Great Anagua here, Turks and Caicos, we swing back toward Long Island right through here. This is by 2 o'clock. So in a couple hours, depending on, of course, when you're watching this, here's the center, Ragged Island over here, working its way toward the Ackland, and then back Acklands and back toward Crooked Island here. And this is a core of some really heavy stuff on the backside. You get that push of water coming in right here, that counterclockwise flow around this, which means Long Island, as you swing toward the east side, the east coast, that onshore flow with that surge, right? Watching that surge, which could be a couple meters in some spots, monitoring that. San Salvador, Rum Key, that's what I was talking about, right on the edge of those hurricane conditions, and we're still seeing that swinging back toward Crooked Island. This here is by 5 p.m., and then as we push forward in time, here's San Salvador in Rum Key, and as there's that strong flow coming this way, flow coming that way out of Cat Island, we could see significant flooding even later in the day by the evening, by 8 p.m. because we get that flow coming in here on the east side, and then as it pulls away, you get that backside. So even as that pulls away later today, the backside of it, that's where we could get some of the higher winds at times. So looking at the winds, miles per hour and kilometers an hour on your screen to keep you covered. So here's what we're watching right back through here. And this gives you a feel. The hurricane winds, or at least close to it in this red shading, definitely the hurricane winds in the yellow shading. So you could kind of pick a spot on the map. Of course, the Bahamas, not hitting all of the Bahamas, over 700 islands. It's not near Freeport or New Providence, although the seas will be higher, it'll be breezier. But you can see the center of this may cross right over Long Island, and then by 8 p.m. starting to move away. But on the backside of it, even though the eye moves away, just like we saw in Jamaica, it just continues as far as the winds. They kind of hang on as we swing deeper into the evening on the back side of the eye. So the eye passes, but we have the whole eye to go through, and then it will lift its way back into the Atlantic after that. So taking a look at some of the winds that we're generally looking at, some of the gusts, these are kind of high end. I don't really expect it to intensify any further, even though it's over the water. It weakens when it moves over land. That's what we saw over Cuba. Just as it starts to get tied into a front, conditions above our heads aren't conducive to really much strengthening, but there is a chance that some of the gusts could be upwards of about 110. Still, of course, the gusty winds in Cuba, just kind of looking ahead now as that kind of works its way. So watching those strong winds, and again, this being YouTube, it's nice how you could kind of swing back and kind of pause it on this video if you need to see the impacts. Very specifically, got you covered in the Bahamas, where this is going and where this is not going. And then watching Bermuda, a little bit in the way of better news overall. One, it's going to be weaker in Bermuda. Bermuda built like a rock, dealing with these things all the time, but it looks like it may be more to the north and toward the west. We'll see how that shakes out. I do expect high winds, Atlantic region of Canada, but in particular back toward Newfoundland and the Avalon Peninsula as we work our way toward the end of the week, which I'll show you as well. So it's going to hold. Again, it is over those generally warm waters, holding as that Category 2 hurricane as it moves through the Bahamas right now. Still the impacts, though, elsewhere. Cuba, watching over toward Haiti with some of those impacts with the very high rain totals, which we'll cover. And then eventually it will start to weaken once it leaves the Bahamas, works its way toward Bermuda, and then kind of loses its tropical characteristics as it gets tied up into a front. So looking at the rain, and you could get a sample of kind of the trail of this, where this will be. We're going to see some additional rain totals of about 200 millimeters of rain on the back side of this, up to that in extreme northeastern sections of Cuba. Again, this did not impact Western Cuba, Central Cuba, as you're letting your family know. This was extreme eastern sections of Cuba, and still some of the impacts there. So if you haven't heard yet, again, there's still those high impacts. That's what I was covering, well, really over the last several videos, but just wanted to let you know, even though the center's offshore, maybe a little bit while before you hear, but you can see that core of some of the rain right there as it continues to leave. And then I mentioned the tail end of this, you get those rain bands that filter in. So this here, just today in some of the rain bands, just today, we could get an additional 100 millimeters of rain, or 4 inches of rain along the southern peninsula of Haiti. That's on top of some of the rain that we've had the last several days. There's been flooding, but today it seems to be more intense as I get some of those reports out from on the ground. I'll let you know about that. I'll try to add that in the comment section. You let me know what's going on as well. Then down the road, keeping an eye on Bermuda. I'm kind of optimistic as a whole. If this were to work in, we'd have some winds around 70 miles per hour. So we're just kind of in action mode, not full throttle action mode, but we know this could at least clip by. More of it looks to be to the north and west as of now. So I'll fine-tune that, of course, for you in upcoming videos. And then just to look at what happens as after this moves through the Bahamas, again, cover the Bahamas in detail, but after this moves by, I want to show you what happens. Here's Bermuda, Atlantic region of Canada. Here's a system, a big autumn system, another one rolling through the southeast U.S. with eventually some cooler temperatures kilometers over toward the Gulf. That gets tied into this. This here is by 5 o'clock tomorrow. So by 5 tomorrow, watching this, but this system, as it moves from the mid-Atlantic toward New England, you see it right there over toward the Maritimes as well, kind of yanks it up to the north. So maybe just to the north and west. Here's Bermuda right where my finger is, just to the north and west. But again, it wouldn't be in the same form it is now. And then it gets tied into what's going on here. Then New England, the heavier rain, especially late tomorrow, a lot of rain, Cape Cod, swinging back toward Maine. Then as we get toward New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia will get some rain. That's not related with Melissa, but Melissa may get tied in a little bit to what's going to happen deeper into Friday night and Saturday over toward Newfoundland. You can see the Avalon Peninsula here. So it all kind of gets wrapped together, and you see this rain here. It won't be tropical in nature, but we could have some really gusty winds out of that, and actually some snow back on the backside. It could kind of wrap in some of the snow on the backside, swinging over toward even close to parts of New Brunswick. So looking at the winds, I zoomed down island by island to show you specifically what you can expect in the Bahamas, but going out in time here, this is kilometers an hour and then miles per hour in the parentheses, and you can see here's Bermuda right here, just to the north of the M right there, and you can see the wind field as this approaches. Remember, we have this system here. As this system here kind of lifts its way toward New England, it kind of pulls it, and it could kind of keep it away from Bermuda. We'll see. If it moves in, winds 70 miles per hour for a short period of time. If it stays north and west, we'll have some gusts about 50, and then again, that would be tomorrow night. Then after that, watch what happens with what is left of Melissa. And boy, we've been tracking this. I think I'll have to go back and check. Some of you have been maybe 12, 13 days coming off the coast of Africa. And then you can see by the time we get into Friday, winds that will be around 80 kilometers an hour gust parts of the Atlantic region of Canada. But the Avalon Peninsula, they could be higher than 80 kilometers or higher than 50 miles per hour, depending on how this shakes out Friday night, late Friday night into early on Saturday. So trying to keep everyone covered from here all the way up there. So there are the tail bands of rain, and there's still a chance of that as this kind of lifts to the north. We've got a couple fronts moving by, so some batches of rain will be possible in parts of Jamaica as we swing over the next couple of days, and then we swing out here watching that rain there. I'm not seeing development out of that. But this is a tropical wave that will slide in, and that will eventually increase our rain chance, especially by Friday. Barbados, St. Lucia, Dominica, pick your spot. Even back through St. Vincent the Grenadines, Trinidad, Grenada, slightly better chance of rain as well over toward Martinique. This here is by Friday, and you can see a buildup of rain. Costa Rica, Panama, not a whole lot. Belize back toward the north and west. And then you see the additional rain on Friday through parts of the Eastern Caribbean. There's that rain in Panama. But with all that action in the fronts now up to the north, you see some of those bands of rain, parts of Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic. Even some spotty showers will be possible as we swing back through the Cayman Islands. Now the seas are really going to be building. They've already built where, of course, this is, but they're going to be building even more in the Atlantic. As this lifts up to the north, we have that front pressing in. The wind field is going to expand. The intense winds actually weaken, but as it transitions into a non-tropical system, what happens is the wind field gets larger. So the winds overall are not as intense, but the wind field gets larger. Thus, the waves, the swells, all of that action is magnified even further. So we'll be watching that as we go through the end of the week. So the hurricane impacts continue. Again, concerns along the northeast coast of Cuba, concerns along the southern peninsula of Haiti. I'll be watching your comments. Thank you for the reports out of both locations best you can. And then watching over toward the Bahamas, central and southern Bahamas. I try to get very specific with which islands because there's so many. I don't want to just put a broad brush on that. I wanted to zoom down for you across the Bahamas. And then we'll be watching Bermuda and Canada next. But that flooding again is intense in some spots. And all of us, no doubt, are just thinking of Jamaica, and I'll be trying to go through your comments. It is so good to hear from you no matter where you are in Jamaica. Thank you for leaving the comments. I hope you see the love in the comment section. So everyone be safe as Melissa continues on its trek from Cuba into the Bahamas. I'll do my best to keep you posted. Have a good and safe rest of your day.